adding fractions, and this time mixed fractions. So we might have a fraction like this, 1 and a half. And if you notice on the squared paper, and this can apply to plain paper, lined paper, I like to make my fraction, the entire fraction, the same size as one whole number. And this really helps to show, that this representation here is a small piece of a whole number. And by doing that, it makes our addition much easier. So let's just imagine we have something like 3 and a half, and we want to add it to 1 and 1/3. By doing that, we can try and add it all together by doing this method. We can turn this 3 into a whole number, okay? And then what we can do is say 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 is 7. So now that's 7 halves plus, and we say 1 times 3 plus 1, because 1 whole is 3/3, and then plus this little numerator up here, this will be 4/3. And of course we've got to turn it into the same denominator. So whatever I do to my denominator, I do to my numerator. Whatever I do to my numerator, I do to my denominator. They're kind of like spoiled twins who are like, you got a lollipop, I want a lollipop too. So if you imagine anyone that you try to give something to them, and then their friend or their sibling says, what about me? I want that as well. That's how the denominator and the numerator work. So what we would do is turn these both into a common denominator. So we think, what numbers go in, which number does 2 and 3 go into with no remainder? Of course, 3 can go into 4, 2 can go into 3, but there's remainders there, and it must be the same number. So they both go into 6. That's the lowest one I can think of. And then we say, how many 2's go into 6? It will be times 3. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So 7 times 3 is 21. And then the same here, I turn that into the same fraction. And now it's really easy to add. We've got 29 over 6. And remember, when we're looking at the division sign here, what you might notice here is that there's a dot here and a dot here. And this is really showing us fractions, because fractions, percentages and decimals, they're kind of like all cousins. So when you see 29 over 6, it means 29 divided by 6. This is my divisor, this is my dividend. We're looking for my answer, which is a quotient. How many 6's in 2? 0. And how many 6's in 29? Now we know there's 5 6's in a 30, so it's got to be something lower. So 30 take away 6 is 24. So that will be 4 times 6. And my remainder, which will be, if I put this here, 5, this will go over my denominator. So it's 4 and 5, 6. But take a look at all that working out. Now I'm sure you're thinking, or I'm sure you know, there's a quicker way. So let's do the quicker way. So we have 3 and a half plus, let me just remind myself here, 1 and 1/3. I don't really want to go through all that again. So I'm just going to take off my whole numbers, and I'm going to add these ones on the side. So I'm going to put 3 plus 1, which is nice and easy, and I've got 4. So I'll just remember that, okay, because sometimes I will forget it, so I must remember that one. So now I'm left with a half plus a third, and as we did before, we remembered that they both go into 6. So how do I turn a 2 into a 6? I times it by 3. And how do I turn a 1 into a 6? And also times whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. And the same with this one here. So now I have 1 times 3 is 3, and that's right, because 3 6's is a half. And then I look down here, and then I have 2 6's, which is right, that's a third of 6. Now I can add them together, and I've got my 5 6's, and that's when I bring back my whole number, and I've got 4 and 5 6. So as you can see, it's pretty much the same. Now I want you to go ahead, and I'd like you to do your own one. So I'm just going to erase all of this, and I want you to think of how you would do this by yourself. So I'm going to think about, you can do it the long way. If you're comfortable doing it the long way round because you're getting used to the process, that's okay as well, by the way, that's absolutely fine. And if you want to do it the shorter way round because you've got the hang of what we're doing, that's absolutely fine as well. This is why your teachers will mention about times tables, because they come in so handy when we're doing questions like this. Okay, so you might have something like, okay, so try those two and then let me know how you get on.